If you thought about writing a children's book, have you thought about writing a book that can help lots of children overcome their problems? That's what we're going to talk about today. Hi, I'm Dan Janelle, the author of Write Your Book in a Flash. I'm a book coach, developmental editor, and ghostwriter, and I can help you write your book. Let's get started. Our guest today is Kim Eley, the publisher of KWE Publishing, an imprint of Morgan James. She publishes children's books and has a very interesting genre in terms of publishing books about children who have special needs. Kim, tell us about the kinds of books you're looking for, the kinds of books you published.
Oh, absolutely. Dan, it's so interesting because candidly, I didn't really plan it this way, but I'm so glad it happened this way. So I've had children's book authors who have come to me and their child has had a particular health issue or concern, and they've wanted to write about it. And it's worked out so beautifully because the child has a issue. One of the ones I've worked with was a lady who's a dietitian, and she herself grew up with nut allergies. And it's more common today than it was when she was growing up, but she felt really strongly about showing how this wonderful, strong, spunky, independent little girl just happens to have a nut allergy and everything else about her is normal. It's so cool for kids to see themselves in these books and realize, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. It's also blossomed to talking with other authors. Another is a pediatric optometrist, and she found it a mission to let kids, parents know that even as early as the age of 3, children should get their eyes checked. She was traveling on a health van doing health checks, and she was shocked that the parents were all saying, oh, my kid's good. You know, he's 3. He doesn't need his eyes checked. So doing a fantastic book about awareness as well is so helpful to parents.
Oh, definitely. If kids can't read or have dyslexia or whatever, I remember having my eyes checked when I was in kindergarten. So that was probably 5 years old, not 3. Could have been done earlier. Right. What other books have you published, and what other maladies or situations have you dealt with?
Absolutely. I'm working with an amazing lady right now who has 2 boys. The older one is on the autistic spectrum, and she's wanting to, her intention is to increase awareness and sensitivity for, siblings of kids with special needs. And it's talking about the little brother who is not on the spectrum having a horrible day where his sweater itches and the fire drill goes off and the alarm is so loud it irritates him. And he realizes, oh, I bet this is what my older brother goes through on a daily basis. And it just really hits kids, like, oh, let me put myself in this other person's shoes. One of the most amazing authors I've worked with had a child who had late onset hearing loss. And what happened was her hearing was normal when she was born. Somewhere between the ages of 2 and 3, completely lost her hearing. It wasn't until her preschool teacher told her, her mom, you know what, this child can't hear. She's just so smart. She's been picking up on your, verbal cues and your hand motions. She's really elevated late onset hearing loss awareness because so many parents aren't aware of it and can go through a lot of anguish. And she wanted to create the book, and it's really like a how-to guide for stunned parents who are like, oh my gosh, my child has hearing loss. I don't know what to do. Dan, it was so cool. The illustrator even drew an illustrated hearing aid, and we have that as part of the book. It fits in beautifully with all the illustrations so that parents and kids can become, familiar with the parts of the hearing aid and demystify what could be kind of a scary thing.
Great idea. So I'm curious, you're opening up a big question here as to, are these books for children, or are these books about children for adults, or both? What are you looking for in your publishing?
Oh, absolutely. That is such a great question. And actually, the books are written as children's books, meaning they're fully illustrated. They're written on a certain, age range specifically for children. However, a lot of times, parents are the ones, or caregivers are the ones who are going to be reading to the children. And so often they'll be reading, and the parents are also gaining understanding as they're reading to the child.
Wow, that's cool. So let's say you're a parent, you're listening to this video, you're saying like, yeah, my child has a certain situation and I'd love to tell that story to help other parents so they can deal with this. How do they get started? How do you write a book like this? How long are these books?
Oh, absolutely. Great questions. I think the best place to get started, and I share this with all my clients, is to get really clear with what I call the strategic plan, which is really 3 questions. What is your intention? Which is, what do you want to share as your message for the book? The second one is, what is your message? Which is, what do you want your readers to think or feel or act on as a result of reading your book? And then the ideal reader. So for instance, with the book about autism, it's the message is autism acceptance, but also being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes. The message of the nut allergy book is all about, you can live a normal life, and you can have a fantastic existence, and you just happen to have a nut allergy. So I think part of getting started with that is thinking about, what do you want to share and what do you want people to walk away with? I forgot the second question.
The length of the books, does it vary by the children's ages?
Absolutely. So yes. So if it's for very, very young children, books tend to be shorter. They would be somewhere between about 20, maybe to 30 pages. For longer books, for older children rather, they might appreciate a longer book. Also working with a wonderful couple, the husband and wife team, and the husband has had type 1 diabetes since he was a kid. And they've written a really fun chapter book, very, very short. It's appropriate for kids ages about like 6 until 9. But it's a little bit more advanced than your average illustrated book. But again, the purpose of it is to normalize the little boy in the story just happens to have type 1 diabetes, but he and his friend go on an adventure. And so that's going to resonate with a much different age group. As little kids are on a different level than older kids. So you want to reach them, meet them where they're at.
Perfect. Now, let's say you're a parent who's writing a book, but you have absolutely no artistic skills whatsoever. How do they approach a publisher like you? Do they say, I have this great book, but I need an illustrator. Can you help me? Do you put the pieces together? How does that work?
Absolutely. I like how you say putting the pieces together, because that's exactly what it feels like when I work with authors on children's books. Often I feel like a producer, like a movie producer, because I'm like, let's audition and find an illustrator. We will look at books, similar books within their genre and see, what's popular. I also like to ask my clients to figure out, what resonates with you. Sometimes certain stories require a different artistic mode. Like for instance, the late onset hearing loss awareness book, we chose to go with a wonderful illustrator who uses watercolors. And that really seemed to go with the tone of the book. So what we'll do is we'll actually audition illustrators. We'll have them do an audition sketch of, say, the main character, and then we'll compare and figure out, who's the best fit, and then go from there. I also work with amazing designers, and what we'll do is we'll all coordinate as a team. So it's me, the author, the illustrator, and the designer. And we're putting it together, doing the layout and also the illustrations to make sure everything's cohesive and just looks fantastic.
Wow, it sounds like you have a great team to put together a fantastic children's book that's going to help lots of parents and lots of children cope and survive and thrive in today's world. Kim, how can people get in touch with you? And what is the first step in proposing a book to a company like KWE Publishing at Morgan James?
Oh, absolutely. So you can get in touch with me at my website, kwepub.com. That's KWE Publishing, kwepub.com. You can also go to Morgan James, and that's morgan-james-publishing.com. And yeah, if you're interested in submitting a children's book idea to Morgan James, there's actually a submission form and interest line. So you can go on the website and submit it there. And but I love talking about books. So if you're at the point as an author where you're like, golly, I don't even know where to get started, I love having conversations about books and just helping you get clear.
Fantastic. I wish more acquisition editors and publishers were like you. You are so approachable. So thank you so much for being on our show today. And if you want to write your book in a flash, check out more than 100 videos on our website.